Welcome to the Let It Bleed podcast, a place where you can hear the liquor-fueled ramblings of two narcissistic wizards who conjure the essence of inspirational people every week and bring it straight to you.
Just how do you plan on doing that? Magic. Motherfucker.
And now for the wizards themselves,
America Day,
David Amaya
people.
and Phil Arroyo.
It's America Day.
Yo, it is
America Day.
America Day. I'm not feeling very America right now, but that's okay, you know.
You're not feeling American? You're not American it?
Well, no, I mean, is it weird that I was like just about an hour ago, like, oh man, this is the big one. Shit, that's kind of awesome that it's happening right now. The
Yeah.
symbolism is fucking beautiful. I'm accepting my death.
Well, you know, I was actually, I was feeling pretty exhilarated during that moment. And for everybody listening, what happened was there was a pretty significant earthquake, I guess. I mean, it didn't really do any damage to my home, but it went on for like, it was very noticeable. And I happened to be on the shitter when it was going on. So
Did you know?
I was relieved at the same time as I was concerned. So, you know, I was definitely like, you know, I'd surrendered, you know, my body and my soul to the fate of the world. So yeah, I guess you could say that for a brief moment, I also thought, hey,
Going out like Elvis.
maybe this is where we're gonna go. And you know, it's like, because I've been having like stomach issues lately, so you know, the whole relieving of oneself, it's been kind of it seemed at the right moment for me to be there, you know, doing that. And apparently a lot of other people were, because I went and immediately made a post about it on Facebook, and a lot of other people shared the same experience that I did, and that was pretty cool, you know.
That's a lot of people sharing a lot of information that I'm not sure why they're giving that up so easy, but okay.
Well, we live in a world where people like try to withhold information from you, so I'm just trying to practice this new thing of being as honest as you could possibly be. And
Radical transparency. I can respect that.
Yeah, because it's too hard for me to hide shit. Like I've given up on trying to, you know, be those people. I've given up on the side that like makes people extremely fanatical, or they can go and become paranoid and crazy, thinking that like, oh, you know, they're after us, they're listening to us, and you know, all of this stuff that just keeps them on edge, you know. But it's like, you're not going to figure out how to like not get these people to listen to you if they are listening to us, you know. You're not going to be able to beat like the technology that's coming out. It's happening. So you kind of just have to like, you know, find a way to live with it. And that's, you know, just go ahead.
Yeah, I remember like hearing about this guy who kind of took this idea like, hey, if I'm giving all of my information out to everyone, it's not like valuable or an asset to somebody who's trying to get it. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
And I was like, that is a weird, interesting way of thinking about it.
Yeah, well, you know, and
I'm
to
not sure I
ease the mind
agree, but
to ease the mind of a bunch of well, that's different, you know. Like if there's obviously like information you don't want out there because you don't want people, you know, stealing your information to use for other things. But like when it comes to the freaking them listening to you about maybe you're paranoid about, I'm talking more about like just shit. Are they looking at all the porn that I'm watching? You know, but everybody fucking does that. Like, you know, everybody.
I mean, we're all looking at it.
Yeah, so it kind of just alleviates that sort of, the thing that I think most people are very self-conscious about is like, you know, quirks and shit like that. It's becoming, things are becoming, you know, talked about, so that, like, I'm trying to think of an example I have, you know, definitely coming off of a night of no sleep, so it's hard for me to articulate what I'm thinking about. But I guess just like the shock, you know, for so many people who grew up living a more modest life, you know, we're not able to say certain things, we're not able to be real about like real topics and talk about certain stuff. There's that show Euphoria that's on HBO. Have you seen it yet?
I have not. No, is it any good?
It's pretty good. It's like the I would guess, you know, the kids or the 13 of, you know, the current generation. It dealing with like the struggles of and pressures of like high school and so on and so forth. But it's very real and raw, you know, and it's definitely not for kids to see, because you're watching it and the material, like it covers like kids in high school and like what they're doing, and you know, obviously there might be some exaggeration towards that, because these people these actors are really not in high school, but it's just really fucking raw, and they talk about shit that's out there, you know, instead of just like sugarcoating it and trying to make you believe that you're gonna go into this world and it's gonna be like this, you know, like Pleasantville sort of thing, and then you realize all of these fucking the realities of the world and how fucked up shit can be. You know, I guess it might make somebody a little bit more it might make them more ready to deal with it.
Yeah, all I know about it is just it's Zendaya just doing shitloads of ecstasy, right?
Is that her name? I'm terrible with names. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think, no, it's not ecstasy. Like she's doing like other like harder opioids and shit in the show, and kind of just almost like whatever she can really get her hands on, but it's more, I think, on the way of like pharmaceutical prescription pills and such.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get those from grandma.
But it's not just her, it's like other, you know, it ties into, there's all these different stories going on, and like, you know, that kind of touches on different things. Like one of them is it has to do with this girl who is like a webcam. She becomes a webcam girl. You know, she's kind of like a plus size, a girl that like finds her outlet through, you know, her acceptance like on the internet with all these strangers. Where like at her high school, she's just kind of like not really, you know, noticed at all.
Oof, that's rough.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's interesting. Like, don't just like, I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I would just say, you know, like watch
Is it worth a watch?
I would say that it's worth the watch. I would say that I think that it's pretty
hard
good.
as it might be sometimes to like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, as hard as it might be to see certain things, I think that it's a great show. I think that it's well done. You know, there's a part of them explaining like the condition of, you know, young, I guess you would say millennials or even younger kids and how they deal with stuff.
That's a whole new genre now. That's Z.
Yeah, the Z. So the Generation Z. But I mean, I feel like we are kind of, because there's a lot of relatable things that go on in the show where, you know, even as an adult, as a 30-year-old, or 31-year-old, sorry, that like you still can relate to these characters because some of the subject matter is relevant for both age groups. So
right on.
Yeah.
Well, I can feel them on that. You know, I love seeing like a bunch of those like people just being proud of them and shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, last time I saw that in context was the you know, did you hear the NRA is like basically folding officially?
What?
Yeah. They shut down NRA TV. They fired all their like spokespeople and stuff like that because they couldn't pay them anymore. The whole thing is imploding, and now they're like really like redoing their tax exempt status, and I'm like, holy shit. And so I saw this thing, it's like where, you know, millennials are looking at Gen Z because those are the kids from Parkland, those are the kids who started that rally, I mean, really basically a year and a half ago, and they took down like the biggest fucking gun lobbyist in the world. Like, that's fucking crazy, man.
Wow.
And so yeah, I've seen a bunch of things like, yeah, shit, we're so proud of like Gen Z because they fucking did it. Like, I don't know, I just thought that was dope. I wanted to share that because you know, yeah, Moms Demand Action and all the Parkland kids, all the work they've been doing for the last year and a half straight now, because it was only 2 Valentine's Days ago that all that happened, and now like they fucking slew Goliath, man. Like, that's fucking wild.
What's Charlton Heston doing?
I don't know.
Rolling in his
Probably
grave?
decomposing while still alive.
Wait, is he alive
like
still?
he has been doing?
Is he still alive?
Oh, no. Not Charlton Heston. Sorry. I'm thinking of Clint Eastwood.
Oh, yeah, but is Charlton Heston... No, Charlton Heston passed, right?
He's dead as fuck.
Okay, see, this is how, like you just brought it up, Clint Eastwood, because it's almost like when, you know, Charlton Heston died, I didn't notice because Eastwood took over that role. And then, you know, right below that, you have fucking, what's his face? Fucking Cat Scratch Fever motherfucker.
Uh, um,
Shit.
Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent over there.
Oh, he's not of the same.
He's not
like,
of the
genre.
same thing, but I'm just talking about like somebody who just gets out there and is like the advocate for, you know.
Do people still talk about like? Is he still around? Is he still doing all those things?
Ted
Like, I feel
Nugent?
like he got replaced. He got replaced by the Duck Dynasty guy, who got replaced by the My Pillow guy or some shit.
Guaranteed out there in, you know, the boonies, the middle America, he does hold a place probably as high as like Charlton Heston or Clint Eastwood to them, you know. Somebody who speaks the real truth, you know. Yeah.
Ted Nugent is like Arkansas's Beyonce. Like, that's a fact.
I wouldn't be so cruel to Arkansas. I hear it's a beautiful place.
Fine.
I hear that it's a beautiful spot. I've yet to go, but I hear that it's pretty wondrous in its landscapes. But wow, that's fucking some pretty epic shit right there, you know. And it kind of makes me wonder where it's going now from that, you know. Like, I mean, that's obviously a huge feat, and you know, seeing something so big as the NRA like collapsing, but you know, it's not to say that fight is over. You know, like, I hate to say that.
Definitely not.
I hate to say,
but, like, it's important to really relish these moments because, like, you know, this shit is hard and a lot of people do a lot of work, you know, donate a lot of money, donate a lot of time. Like, you know, there's a lot of people who are out there doing a lot of shit for this, and a lot of times it feels like there's not enough getting done, or it's, you know, it can feel like you're doing a lot for nothing. But you got to take these moments because it's all cumulative, you know. That's not also just them. That's everybody who supported them, everybody who donated, everybody who marched, everybody who, I mean, fucking posted on Facebook and Twitter about it. The journalists who uncovered a lot of the, you know, the crazy shit that was going on at the NRA, all the embezzlement, all of the corruption, all of the foreign money from Russia that was flowing in through the NRA directly into the Trump campaign. Like, all of that is, you know, it took all of us to do it, but we fucking did it, you know? We got to celebrate those victories because there ain't much else to celebrate right now today.
Well, the only thing that people are celebrating right now are beer bongs and you know, wearable flags, which isn't that illegal?
Yes, it is.
But so everybody should be getting arrested right now. Imagine that. Like, imagine if like the government just flipped it on everybody right now. They just went down to Huntington Beach and Newport and they just started like throwing people in paddy wagons and shit for like, you know, wearing the American flag.
You don't have to imagine that hard, man. You've got tanks rolling in the streets in D.C. for a fucking military parade. Like, we're goddamn, you know, Russia in the 1990s. I mean, this is fucking wild, man.
Explain what's going on. I'm out of the loop on this one.
Oh, okay. So, you know, the president decided that, you know, the 4th of July celebrations that we do, he had this grand idea, is I'm going to throw a big party on the 4th of July. You know, just pick a random date out of somewhere. It's like, okay, that's what everybody does already. And so he's trying to take it and make it his thing. And so, and this is a quote from the Washington Post here. Let me read the article a little bit. The National Park Service is diverting nearly $2.5 million in entrance and recreation fees, primarily intended to improve parks across the country to cover costs associated with President Trump's Independence Day celebration. The diverted park fees represent just a fraction of the extra costs the government faces as a result of the event, which will include displays of military hardware, flyovers by an array of jets, including Air Force One, the deployment of tanks on the mall, and an extended pyrotechnic show. By comparison, according to former Park Service Deputy Director Dennis P. Galvin, the entire 4th of July celebration on the mall typically costs the agency about $2 million. For Trump's planned speech at the Lincoln Memorial, the White House is distributing VIP tickets to Republican donors and political appointees, prompting objections from Democratic lawmakers who argue that the president has turned the annual celebration into a campaign event. And now,
this is
what
also, he's doing. That's exactly what that is. It's like a fucking Trump rally.
He's tried to do this for a couple of years now. Try to make his own rally out of the 4th of July. And this is the first year that he's officially gotten rid of enough people that were, you know, in his cabinet that he could pull it off. Now, in years past, the estimates that were given to pull off something like this were $95 million.
What?
And so I'm not buying this $2.5 million number for a second. Like,
which
that's
is
the number
already
that we know
an
about.
obscene amount of money.
It's already $500,000 more than we would spend on just regular 4th of July festivities, which are supposed to be nonpartisan. Instead, he's trying to make this into a campaign event for him and trying to get TV coverage, which luckily just today, or late yesterday, I think it was announced that none of the major networks were going to carry it. So it's going to be on Fox News, basically. That's it, which is good. But yeah, no, that's going to cost a fuckload of money. Not to mention that he's trying to say, oh, but we got all these donations for fireworks from these firework companies, and he was like shouting them out on Twitter. What they were, the fireworks companies were owned by a different parent company that was asking him for sanctions relief that was on China, I think it was, and I don't have this in front of me, but basically they went and donated like $300 million, and then Trump lifted sanctions on them, like to the tune of like $500 million, some shit like that. So it is, of course, also just a little double whammy in there. Also just a blatant bribery scheme that he's fucking pulling off too. Yay, America! Oh, man. Yeah, and all of this in the midst of a fucking constitutional crisis. Because I have talked about this in the show before. Do you remember me talking about the census question?
The what question?
The question they were trying to add to the 2020
right.
census
Like
about are you a citizen?
Yeah, and he said fuck it. He's still putting it on the census anyway.
Yeah. So the Supreme Court ruled, hey, you can't put this on the census. Like, it is clear, blatant as day. Like, even the Supreme Court that you fucking appointed basically said in their, in their dissent, you made this way too fucking blatant. Like, you need to clean up your shit, and then maybe we can talk about it. And so even they were like, yeah, no, we can't do anything about this. Like, you all but said, yeah, this is just to make sure, white people get more power and brown people get less. Like fucking verbatim. So now he's just trying to go ahead and plow forward anyway, despite what the Supreme Court said. And that puts us in a legitimate, like, textbook definition constitutional crisis. Because if they go forward with this and the Supreme Court said no, and like we're literally at federal marshals, like, outside of the place level shit right now. Like, this is what's happening while we have tanks marching through the streets. Like, we've got somebody who's so emboldened, so fucking lawless, that this is what we're dealing with on the 4th of July. So, I mean, I don't know what to make of a lot of this shit going on right now, man. Because it's fucking wild.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, I'm just glad I'm not out there. Fucking with him and his tanks and shit.
We're not safe either. Yeah. We might have to be shit because none of this shit that's happening right now can wait until 2020. And that's also assuming he's going to leave office. There's not going to be a peaceful transfer of power. I fucking guarantee you right now.
Yeah.
Unless we're doing something before then. Like, straight up, he's going to have to be physically removed from office. That, like, everything since he fucking first announced his candidacy has pointed to that,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fucking lawless, man. And not to mention, did you hear, like, and he's it's a rut that's starting from the top and just going all the way down. I don't know how much did you catch all the stuff going on the new reporting that's going on at the border right now?
Sorry, repeat that last part. I didn't hear that.
Did you catch the new reporting that's going on at the border right now?
I've got little bits of it from like the last week, just by listening to NPR. But like, if something happened like yesterday, or like what happened?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a congressional the Congressional Hispanic Caucus went down to the border and toured a few of the facilities, and what they got was fucking horrifying. And not to mention that they also, at the same time, a story broke about a secret Facebook group of 9,500 CBP officers who were just doing nothing but posting, like, racist memes and shit like that. Just a Facebook group full of, like, vile 4chan-esque shit. And that, I mean, that's crazy. If you don't mind, I'm going to read something here that I kind of just compiled from tweets from Rep. Ocasio-Cortez, who was down there, and she kind of like laid out the whole situation there. So better than I can like kind of summarize the thing. She said, this just broke. A secret Facebook group of 9,500 CBP officers discussed making a GoFundMe for officers to harm myself, and Rep. Escobar during our visit to CBP facilities and mock migrant deaths. This isn't about, quote, a few bad eggs. This is a violent culture. 9,500 CBP officers share memes about dead migrants and discussing violence and sexual misconduct towards members of Congress. How on earth can CBP's culture be trusted to care for refugees humanely? There are 20,000 total Customs and Border Patrol agents in the U.S. 9,500 is almost half that number are in a racist and sexually violent secret CBP Facebook group. They're threatening violence on members of Congress. How do you think they're treating caged children and families? I mean, and then after she just left the facility, she said, just left the first CBP facility. I see why CBP officers were being so physically and sexually threatening towards me. Officers were keeping women in cells with no water and had told them to drink out of the toilets. This was on their good behavior in front of members of Congress. Now that I've seen the insides of these facilities, it's not just the kids, it's everyone. People drinking out of toilets, officers laughing in front of members of Congress. I brought it up to their superiors. They said officers are, quote, under stress and act out sometimes. No accountability. And after I forced myself into a cell with women and began speaking to them, one of them described the treatment at the hands of officers as, quote, psychological warfare. Waking them at odd hours for no reason, calling them whores, etc. Tell me what about that is due to a lack of funding, which is what was argued and passed, unfortunately, in the House last week in the middle of all this. Now, I'm on my way to Clint, where the Trump administration was denying children toothpaste and soap. This has been horrifying so far. It is hard to understate the enormity of the problem. We're talking systematic cruelty with a dehumanizing culture that treats them like animals. What's haunting is the women that I met with today told me in no uncertain terms that they would experience retribution for telling us what they shared. They all began sobbing out of fear of being punished, out of sickness and out of desperation, lack of sleep, trauma, despair. CBP made us check our phones, but one woman slipped me this packet to take with me. It says shampoo, but she told me that it is all they give women to wash their entire body, nothing else. Some women's hair has been falling out. Others had gone 15 days without taking a shower. And then it comes with a picture of it looks like something that you would like get at a Motel 6, like level shampoo. Just this tiny little thing.
Wow.
And yeah, so meanwhile, one refrain we've heard is that people are overcrowded in CBP concentration camps because the shelters, which are humane places where families can stay together, are so full. So we went to a shelter. That wasn't true at all. Only 150 out of 500 spots were filled. Members of Congress had to surrender their phones before today's CBP trip, but Joaquin Castro was able to get one in, and he took pictures and did some interviews on camera with people. And I saw these pictures and these videos, and they were fucking heartbreaking, man. Heartbreaking.
Wow.
And so Ocasio-Cortez continues, even if they let you in, these women told us CBP did a lot of cleaning up before we arrived. They were moved into that room from outside tents before our arrival. They said they'd gone 15 days without a shower, and were allowed to start bathing 4 days before, when when the visit was announced. These officers felt brazen in there, where management is telling us it was a secure facility where members of Congress had to check their phones. We caught officers trying to sneak photos, laughing. CBP's good behavior was toxic. Imagine how they treat the women trapped inside.
Sheesh.
This woman was telling me about it, and then she had another picture, was saying how the woman was telling her about how her daughters were taken away from her. She doesn't know where they've taken them. They held and listened to them. They were distraught. And to these CBP officers, that's another thing. And then other corroborating accounts one from Rep. Judy Chu. If you want water, just drink from the toilet, is what Border Patrol told one of the thirsty women we met on today's border trip. These are the same CBP personnel who threatened to throw burritos at members of Congress. Changes have got to be made. From Renato Mariatti. A cell meant for a maximum of 35 held 155 adult males, with one toilet and one sink. The cell was so overcrowded that men could not lie down to sleep.
Wow.
From Rashida Tlaib. We can't just focus on the children anymore. I make grandmothers, mothers, and fathers who are suffering. This is devastating. The look in one father's eyes broke me, and I can't look away. From Joe Kennedy, spent the morning in Texas at Clint and El Paso detention facilities. Big takeaway, one, CBP was very resistant to congressional oversight. They tried to restrict what we saw from what we saw. Take our phones, block photos and video. The atmosphere was contentious and uncooperative. And I don't know why there's a one there, sorry. And then finally from Medellin, they just left the CBP facility. The conditions are far worse than we could have ever imagined. 15 women in their 50s, 60s sleeping in a small concrete cell, no burning water, weeks without showers, all of them separated from their families. This is a human rights crisis. And they are 100% right. This is some fucking Third Reich level Nazi shit here. So, yeah, everybody's gonna have to excuse me if I don't exactly feel like celebrating America today, because this is fucking horrific what's going on down there. And this is the shit that we know about too. You know?
Yeah.
Like, your everyday average German in 1942 was not aware of what was going on in those camps. All that shit came to light after they were liberated. And so, I mean, it's a sick fucking culture of people. Like, the cruelty is the point, you know? It's not about money, it's not about anything else. It's never been about, you know, jobs, immigration, whatever they want to fucking say it is. This is about, I mean, asserting white supremacy. That's what everything's been about, you know? They've given away the entire fucking game, man. And it's I don't know. It makes me really, really not proud to be an American. And fuck you if you got a problem with that. Because what's there to be proud of right now? Like, point to something. Because this is some bullshit. This ain't a country worth being proud of right now. So, yeah, I'm not exactly playing into all the festivities today because, I mean, it's all shit, you know? And it's frustrating for me to see, like, how many people are going to go out there and just, you know, drink their beer, you know, fucking, what was I just saw something great on Twitter that was like, this is really like how we do the holidays here. But it's, oh yeah, 4th of July is my favorite holiday. I'll wake up, drink 2.5 Bud Lights, then get in my 2017 Ford Explorer and drive precisely 9 doors down to my neighbor Dave's identical house for 2 cheeseburgers and 3 more beers. My wife talks to Dave's wife, and then we're home in bed by 6:30. Like, this is the shit that, like, you know, it just irks me, man. And it sucks that, like, I just can't have a normal fucking day. This is all I can fucking think about. And it's brutal, man. This whole goddamn thing is brutal, you know? And so that's why I was so just like, it kind of surprised me how just fucking ready I was for, like, oh, okay, is this the big one? Okay. Yeah.
I was kind of bummed it wasn't bigger. Like, I was hoping that there would be some, like, shit falling off the wall or some crazy stuff. I don't know.
It's the biggest one in 20 years. I just saw before we went live here.
So it must have been bigger, centered somewhere else then, because it went on for a while, like at least a couple minutes, but like it wasn't. I mean, it didn't knock anything over at my place, but was it like where was it centered? Did it say?
It was centered a little bit east of Los Angeles. It was closer to like Barstow. Do you remember what it said?
Okay.
Where the earthquake was? Like centered?
The Mojave Desert?
Oh, out in the Mojave Desert.
Nice. That would have been a trip. Imagine being out there on like a vision quest or something, and then the earth just starts rumbling. You're like, oh my god, there's some good shrooms, man.
That would have been the most life transforming experience. I would have been just convinced I was the second coming of Christ. There's no way your ego just doesn't get out of control in that moment. That's wild.
You just give me a sign, any sign, just going rumbling, just going crazy. It's interesting. There's no buildings out there to like collapse or anything. So
just a lot of confused and scared lizards.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people on their vision quest getting all enlightened and woke and coming back.
Just like us here.
Yeah. Well, fuck, man. So yeah, well, you know, I'm at work, and I have absolutely no idea why I'm here. As like not even the restaurants, which are usually what like draws people into, you know, come and want to shop. Not even they are open, and it's just like, what the fuck am I doing here in this gallery? That
seems like a pretty fantastic waste of resources.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. Like it's like nobody's rushing in here today to buy art, and nobody's coming in, you know, to jump on any of this shit today because everybody is out there doing exactly what we were just talking about doing. You know, they're going and getting fucked up. And so that I guess maybe on an underlying level that is and it's been perhaps the reason why, you know, I don't take really any holiday seriously. I'm not one for like the traditions, as I don't see like the point in carrying on all of these traditions that need to be changed, you know, or at least need to be improved upon. And you know, the big thing too, aside from all the political fiasco, is like, and this is as me coming across somebody going against everything that like I grew up loving, you know, but I'm talking about the fireworks. You know, and I'm not trying to be a fucking buzzkill. One of those guys is like, oh, you know, don't celebrate, don't have fun with these fireworks or whatnot. Like, aside from, you know, not only your reason for celebrating, but like what you're actually doing. Because I have to go home after this and stay with my dogs. I'm not even going to go out and you know, enjoy anything with like anybody else, because nobody's going to be at home, and my dogs will probably, if not have a heart attack, piss and shit all over everything because of how scared they are, that people just love blowing shit up every few minutes. And it's not even just like the sparklers and the fucking, you know, the Hoosker-doos and the Hoosker-don'ts and the snakes and all that shit. It's the fucking,
the fizzle sticks and shit like that.
Yeah, it's the fucking M80s that are just like, why? Like, what if this is not in some sort of sense like a symbolic, something symbolic of like, for our country, like these bombs blowing up, you know, it's fucking weird. Like, why do people like doing that? You know, what kick do you get out of it? I remember one time as a kid, I was like so stoked because I would go and get the Piccolo Pete's, the ones you could buy from, you know, the most stands, the legal ones, and they just make this extremely high pitched noise. There's nothing about this original firework that does anything but like set off a really intense flame and creates this really, really high pitched hiss. And when you take those and you smash them up and you like take some of the gunpowder out of them,
dude,
and you you flatten it out, you light it, and it serves as like a little rocket. It kind of just goes and it flies, and very dangerous still in its own way. And so, because, you know, like it just could go and you don't even know where it's going to end up. But, you know, so I was like stoked to go out there and do that. And I'm sitting on the curb outside the front of my house, and these, like the older kids, they were down the street and they would do their shit with the M80s and they would put them under buckets. Well, they must have been a good 20 to 30 yards away from me still with their bucket, and I'm like sitting there on the curb, and when this thing exploded, it like, I felt like somebody punched me in the face. Little did I know at the moment that what happened was more dangerous than that, because a piece of the fucking bucket flew out and hit me square right between the eyes and my like nose bone.
Shit.
And there was literally a piece of plastic in the bucket was stuck in there. Because I didn't even notice that. It wasn't until I walked over and I like was like talking to like my dad or something, and they noticed that like I was bleeding, and there was the plastic that was in my freaking in between, like at the very top of my nose, like right in between my eyes. And it was a pretty significant little gash. You know, I still have like a remnant of a scar that, you know, the tans, like a tan is kind of like covered up by now.
How the fuck have we gone this many years of being friends and I didn't know you survived a frag grenade?
Well, dude, it's like,
that's fucking crazy.
Well, you know, just a couple centimeters to the left and I would be blind in my left eye, you know. And not from masturbating like we all thought it would be. Exactly. That's fucking crazy, dude. So, you know, since then I still like enjoyed, you know, the big fireworks shows and whatnot, but like the whole just everybody around their house just blowing shit up for the sake of blowing shit up, I've been kind of like, what the fuck? And, you know, now like you realize about if you have dogs or cats or whatever, and you know what like these things are doing to the wildlife and the families and shit around it, you're just like, what the fuck is the point of this? Like, what
the fuck is the point of this? Exactly.
What the fuck is the point of this? Nobody knows what they're doing. They're just using it as an excuse to go out and buy all of this shit and you know, support this holiday that is becoming less and less, you know, meaningful in any way. It's just, yeah.
I mean, yeah. And then like, you know, the more you think about it, the more like, you know, you're like, okay, yeah, it just traumatizes all the dogs and cats, and it's like, oh, cool, like, sorry, vets, like people who were supposedly celebrating, like y'all with PTSD, maybe go fuck yourselves on this holiday that we chose to celebrate you with this fucking tradition, you know? And not to mention that, but I'm like, I mean, not to be a fucking, because I am fucking Captain Buzzkill every 4th of July for the last few years now. But like, I just listened today, it's like, oh cool, like, kids who are in school shootings, like, have fun with that, good luck. Like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, this is such a fucking dumb tradition. Like, who really cares? After the age of, like, 5 or 6, who really is just like, whoa, like, this is definitely, like, worth all that, you know?
Right.
After this shit. Who's gonna fucking watch your Instagram video of the fireworks? Absolutely nobody.
Wait, but
I'm just gonna keep on scrolling.
And the thing is that, like, nobody, it's kind of pointless to try and, like, you know, make these points sometimes too, because
It's pointless, yeah.
You know that it's just going to be met with fucking indifference, or, you know, even like a complete just combative attitude where people are like, oh, you're just being a pussy, you're just being a damn libtard, you know, like, oh, just, you know, blah blah blah, this is America, this is what we do. And it's like, not one of you people that are over here acting like a motherfucking idiot, like, actually woke up and thought about, like, what you're happy about with this country and where we are. Like, not one of you actually thought about that. Like, you know, I'm sure there are people out there that, like, probably
take pride in their fucking, like, sycophantry, you know? Just the undying loyalty and faith, no matter what, everything is always right. Like, just to never question that. Like, that's not love, that's a fucking cult, you know?
Well, yeah, and the saddest part about that is that, you know, even, it's weird because, you know, you could tell them all of this stuff and you could explain it to them over and over again, but it just doesn't register. Like, it doesn't register. Like, I don't believe that it registers to these people, like, what is actually happening, even though you're blatantly telling them and they're listening to it. Like, there's just something that's not clicking. Like, I don't believe that they're, like, there and really just as malicious as it is. I think that there's a level of dissonance that is just, like, preventing them on a neurological level from, like, that signal being sent into their, like, understanding, like, oh yeah, no shit, this is wrong, or this is not.
That's absolutely it. You know, it's faith. You know, it's this concept of faith, undying and unwavering devotion and will towards, you know, this thing that can't be logically proven. You just have to know it in your heart. Like, that is such a toxic concept, because has been used to fucking co-opt.
But that's everything. I think that's an oversimplification. I really do think that is something that, you know, anything, you can't have nice things without people absolutely destroying it, because there are a lot of people out there that do have faith and hope in things that are aware, and that they do not act in ways that these ignorant people who don't really have faith, they don't really have hope. That is
a good caveat.
They have, you know, what theirs is blind loyalty disguised as faith and hope. It's sheepishness disguised as these things. Like, you know, they're just like how we in Christianity, like, you know, people use their beliefs for other things that they're unaware that their subconscious is, like, racist. You know, they're unaware that they are, you know, using these things for power, because, and I do believe that, you know, like, it's all the people who have caused problems, you know, in the name of religion or faith or any of these other things, were people who are not the best, you know, who are not truly about whatever philosophy it was. Like, even if it seemed radical and that they seemed to, like, really follow it, it was definitely more about the power. You know, it was about gaining power, and then, of course, they use it, they mentally rationalize and make up these things that just give them the excuse. And once it works, they're just going to continue to repeat and build on that, and then just keep going down that road. And so that's the distinction I want to make too, because, like, I can't,
You're right to make that distinction. I agree with
and
you.
I've been saying this too. You know, like thoughts and prayers get a lot of flack from people because it's true. Like, thoughts and prayers only, like, they're not giving us a tangible...
They absolve you of actually having to do
Right.
something tangible about the issue.
Right, but I also don't even really believe that everybody who says they're sending thoughts and prayers, I would assume, or they'd be confident to declare that like 95% of those people are not even thinking about the shit, or they're not even really praying, or they're not meditating on anything. The people who say love and light, I'm going to meditate about this, I have a hard time believing that they're really putting it out there, because I do think that, it's, even though you can't measure it, I do believe that intention is a lot more powerful than we can imagine.
Yeah.
And I do believe that, like, there are people out there in the world, groups of people who do impact the world through their meditations, through their prayers, and they do it, but it's not going to be seen, and they're not the ones out there going and saying thoughts and prayers. They're doing stuff, and they're also, or they're really putting their energy into it, but most people use it as a cop-out. It's definitely,
Absolutely.
it's just their cop out. Like, oh, well, thoughts and prayers, that's just the way that it is. And there's an old story that I've heard before that was like about there's a guy who's out like drowning in a lake or something like that, and then somebody's fisherman happens to come by. He's like, hey, do you need help? He's like, no, like God will provide. So it's like, oh, okay, sure. And then like somebody else comes up, hey, do you need help? No, like, it's okay. Like, God will take care of me. And then somebody comes by with like a raft. He's like, no, it's okay, God's coming, like I can wait, it's okay, we don't need to do this. And then he fucking dies, and then he gets to heaven, and then he's like, God, what happened? Why didn't you take care of me? It's like, I sent you 3 fucking like boats and a raft, like why didn't you do anything? It's like, the point of that is not to... That's a good one.
Wait for literal divine intervention. Like, fucking take the moment, just take that call to action there to do something about it. Your thoughts and prayers ain't shit. Like, the call to action there.
Well, that's your thoughts and prayers being answered.
I'm donating $20 to Rices, Texas, on the border there to help people, and like, oh, okay, cool. That is actually driving that shit. That is how intention works in a very literal, like, scientific way. You gotta act on those fucking things, and it's just so it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see these, to see these things and have these people use it as a cop-out. Because they say, okay, well, that's all I had to do.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is frustrating, and people need to, have more self-accountability as well. And, also, it kind of goes along with something else that, where we live in a culture where a lot of people are trying to find their own strength. They're trying to, create their own boundaries and set their own healthy boundaries, because it's true that a lot of people have personalities that get taken advantage of. And so, there's this like strength that people are starting to discover, and, movements that are like pushing for people to, set their own boundaries, but also just do them and be free and not worry about like haters or whatever you want to call them. But there's also, with that, going to be, as I can see, a lot of people who are using these sort of, little philosophies as ways to just excuse themselves from any responsibility for their actions or their, what they say or what they think or what they do. It's just like, as soon as somebody comes in and says something that they don't like, they're trained to say, oh, that person's toxic. I absolutely believe that there are toxic manipulators and people who do go out there and bring the vibe down, if you will, for groups of people, and, kind of just really disrupt things. But if somebody questions you or makes you feel uncomfortable, which is what most people confuse or mistake that with, like, there's a difference between somebody coming and just being toxic to you and like just trying to like disrupt your energy, but then there's also people that are trying to actually help you stay accountable for something. Somebody who's actually caring about, keeping you on a moral, ground somehow, and you're just like, oh, well, that person's toxic, and then you just make that up and you close those people.
White people. Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Well,
Oof, that was weird.
it is. It's. I mean, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, really, like take those moments. You know, nothing has been fucking like exactly like nothing has just been so like just oh you are your own parody and so aggravating as everybody getting upset about the goddamn Little Mermaid and casting Halle Berry as Ariel.
What?
Like,
What
yo.
people are getting mad about this now? And like that's like not
Oh wait,
something that
you
they-
haven't heard? Oh my goodness, they're losing their collective shit, dude. Over two things. Two things. And Nike decided not to print a pair of shoes that had the Betsy Ross flag, which has been appropriated by white supremacists who are using it as a symbol of their thing, and they didn't know. And once Colin Kaepernick they're going to print the shoe, he's like, "Hey guys, this is a racist symbol on the shoe." And they're like, oh, "Okay, we're going to stop printing." Everybody, of course, lost their fucking shit and boycotted Nike again. And then the next day, Disney announced that for the live-action Little Mermaid remake, they're casting Halle Berry as Ariel, and they lost their shit again. And I'm like, yo, like straight up fascism has come to this country. Like, we are locking it. I mean, we have got concentration camps on the border, and your biggest issue of the day, the biggest problem is America, is Halle Burial. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, this is why nobody takes you guys seriously.
Yeah, well,
Because you're not talking about fucking big boy and big girl problems right here. Like, oh man, it's just so it's irking to like watch this shit and be like, really? Like, I don't want to acknowledge how stupid that fucking like
I think
like
that's
there's a very strong urge to fight them at that level and on these topics and concepts, but it's like, yo, you're missing. It's all distraction.
I'm
know?
glad that you said that right now though, because that is the thing that needs the distinction that also needs to be shown, because it's great to have passion and fight for what's right, but it's also about picking and choosing the battles, because there is a little bit of truth to, if you ignore if you don't want something to exist, ignore it, it will go away, because you're not going to have the problems. And there's certain things that's applicable toward. There's certain things that require action for you to go out and do something about it. And then there's certain things such as this, which is just an extended thing that the only outcome from getting involved in this is going to just make that like tumor get bigger. You're bringing more attention to something that just absolutely doesn't need any attention. And the less attention paid toward it is going to actually just make it go away or make the problem go away. And that would be something like what you're saying with this fucking, paying attention to like people getting upset about the Little Mermaid and whatever, because Disney's going to fucking do it anyway. And, let these people hate on it, let them die off, let them fucking just like get mad all they want. Like, what are they going to do? Go and fucking really protest it in Washington or like get upset about it? And if they do, like, just fucking ignore them then. Like, what? Like, nothing's going to be done about that. But when people engage very passionately against people like that, you're not going to win. You're just going to make things worse with those people on Facebook, about something so trivial, something that just like, just let the movie come out and like watch it,
And what drives me fucking insane is that this is the level that many of these like, online new age conservatives, like, this is the level that they're engaging at. They're talking about like, oh, the big problem today is like video games are making tits smaller, and like Hollywood is changing historically white characters into characters that represent more of the actual people that they're making the movie for and shit like that. And they're like, this is the problem with America. It's like, yo, straight up, like, we're about to engage in another forever war with Iran. Like, how is this not a bigger fucking issue to you people? And like, but these little small issues, like, that's the thing, is that they're way easier to engage in with most people.
Right.
People understand that. People don't understand the complexities of like, foreign policy, international relations, and like why the president got there in his first week in office. He said, why can't we just assassinate the president of Syria? It's like, for so many fucking reasons. How do I even begin to explain this shit to you people?
Right.
And for them to be talking about like, well, what if transgenders want to use the bathroom? It's like, yeah, this is what people vote on, are these stupid little like detail issues. And that's exactly the fucking president that we got too, is somebody who is obsessed about like the color of the curtains in the bomb shelter he's building. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, why can't we talk about the fucking bomb? Like, I don't give a fuck about the curtain. Like, you're wrong on that too. And it's so like, it attracts the like this level of condescension that is absolutely warranted. I'm sorry, like they are the dumbest fucking people. Oh, and I know I'm not winning any hearts and minds with this speech, but like, yo, we have got to talk about bigger shit. Like, people should feel some shame. But no, I'm gonna be the fucking toxic one that you were talking about, and I'm not engaging on that. And I have no. It's very difficult to summon the fucking respect for these people. Like, you know, when people do come to me and want to actually have a conversation, like, I'm absolutely all for that, because I can usually tell if somebody's there and wanting to actually learn something, because, you know, the reasons behind why I do the things I do and that I say the things that I say are very often, you know, just kind of twisted, you know, contorted and things like that. But you know, there's a lot of people who are just debate me, that kind of thing, the Ben Shapiro's of the world, and it's like, fuck you. Like, there is so much other shit we can be talking about. I don't need to prove it to your fucking entitled ass. Like, oh man, it just irks me. Like, on some, like, the fucking, you know, on some Proud Boys level shit. Like, there's a lot of shit going on.
Hold on a second.
Right now. Leaving? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Why? What's going on?
Oh, just want to park the car because we need to put some things in the van.
Oh, okay. Yeah, give me just a second. I'm on the call.
Yeah, we can sign off.
Yeah.
It's been an hour, so we're good.
All right. Well, you know what? I guess that's the cue for me to move my car, because somebody wants to. They're dumping stuff here in the trash can, and they wanted the spot next to the dumpster, which they're not supposed to be even doing. But that's cool.
I think that is the best metaphor we could have ended the shit on.
They just they want and it's funny because the kid just walked up to me, like, first of all, like, I'm parked kind of next to this dumpster where there's all these open spots, like, right next to the street, and I see this, like, Mercedes, this black SUV Mercedes roll up, and it's posted, like, right behind me for a second, like, right behind my car, and I see, like, this dad and his kid, like, pointing, and I'm just like, what the hell, like, what do they want with me? They're not even security, like, what the fuck is going on? And the kid gets out of the car and comes up to the window and says, "Excuse me, are you leaving?" And I said, like, and my first thought is like, really, bro? Like, there's all these fucking spots right here. He's like, I go, why? What's going on? He's like, oh, because we wanted to park the car right here since the dumpster is right next to it. And it's like, well, there's still one on the other side of the dumpster. And I mean,
it's like God answered my prayers for the fucking perfect, like, situation to just come and explain my point. That's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
I love that this whole outro everybody should imagine that those two people are still there staring at you, waiting to finish and move your car.
They would have.
So it could be a little more convenient.
They would have fucking, no lie, like, they would have waited for me to go, because that's why I kind of looked at them like, yeah, just give me a second. I mean, I'm not going to explain to this guy that I'm sitting here, like, recording a podcast, and he just came and fucking fucked it up or made it better. But yeah, anyways.
I say he made it better.
Yeah.
And so, hey, while we're at it, instead of plugging some people, why doesn't everybody, if you've got a pen and paper right now, go ahead and write this down. All right, if you want to do something actually patriotic this week, go to let's see, where's the URL? It's coming up right now. Go to righteoustexas.org/donate-campaign and give $20 to the good people who are fighting the good fight down there on the border, because that says so much more about how you can be a real American today than a bunch of fucking sparklers and Bud Lights will ever do.
Some fucking red coats.
Yeah, like, actually help people. Fucking actually think about the ideals of this nation, what we at least claim to be striving for, and live by that, okay? Because a more perfect union, as explained in, or as you know, put forth in the Declaration of Independence, means, like, yeah, we know we're not perfect, but we do love this country, and we love what it can be, what it is capable of. And so be a part of that, not just, you know, mindless, you know, radical nationalism. That's not patriotism, okay? Patriotism is living up to the higher ideals that the founding fathers themselves couldn't live up to. All right? So go ahead, righteoustexas.org/donate-campaign, and do some people in horrifying situations a world of good.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. That is at Let It Bleed Cast on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and go ahead and look us up on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of the above, whatever it takes. Go ahead and do it, and just be a good person. Be a good person out there and keep all your fingers and toes, because you can't write us good reviews without no motherfucking fingers.
Right.
All right.
Exactly. Well, to close it off, I would just encourage everybody to try to practice, looking a little bit deeper, having a little bit of vision. You could be as smart as anything out there and learn your fucking every little amendment or every little piece of the Constitution and, claim to have all of this stuff, understood, but just have a little bit of vision and see where we are in relation to when those papers and everything was created and written and founded back a couple hundred years ago, and start to see what side of history you might be in right now. Like when they look back on this, like what part are you going to be? Are you going to be like the redcoats trying to preserve some bullshit way of living, or are you going to be a true American and actually fight and go for the new ideals that need to be carried out? Because things need to change, and I think the most anti-American thing to do is to fucking just stay stubbornly and stupidly in a state of compliance to the thing that the tyranny that you actually think you're fighting against. So that's all I have to say about that. Despite whatever side you fall on right now, just think about that long and hard, and I hope that it'll give a little bit of a unique perspective, or at least add to something. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. You could always find me at Hoodrat Stuff with 3 F's, and then follow the Psychedelic Lions Den. Some announcements for Art in the Park, and some other events will be coming up. Follow me on Facebook, and just stay up to date. And we hope that you guys get home and your dogs and your kitties are not having heart attacks or pissing and shitting everywhere. We hope that you can. Oh, by the way, sorry, that fucking car that parked next to me just came and parked now 5 spots down from where I am currently.
You just
parked.
turned that kid into a. He just joined the alt-right. Is what happened.
Yeah, it's this is kind of funny, actually. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that and sign off. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, let it bleed.